When a superhero turns against his superhero team, hunting them down one by one, he's always viewed as the villain. But what if the superhero who did that was completely justified in doing that? What if the team betrayed him to such a degree that the only answer was for him to take them out one by one by one? That is what happened to Stretchman. Stretchman was a paragon of a superhero, working alone to protect the city for years and years and years with his rule of nonviolent rehabilitation. He believed so much in nonviolent rehabilitation that he would even take former villains and allow them to become superheroes on his team too. And he was really talented at this. Fuego Man, who used his fire powers to intimidate and steal from people, was turned into a model citizen, using his fire powers to deal with threats that even Stretchman couldn't face. Invisible Man was a thief, corrupt, and hurting. And yet Stretchman talked to him and convinced him that it was better to use his powers of invisibility, not to live in the shadows, but to be a light for people, to be an inspiration. Even a cruel god got the same treatment. Horus, exiled from the Egyptian court, an Egyptian god of incredible power, yet without a country and without a home, was wandering the city, and he tried to create his own kingdom in Stretchman's city. Stretchman defeated him, fighting against a god with his incredible elasticity, and convinced him that instead of being a god, it might be better to be a hero, a role model, a friend. Over the years, the team grew close, having memories, Stretchman even opening up his home for them to live in them. But then one night, they met a villain that every other member of the team thought could not possibly be rehabilitated. She was an assassin, paid for hire. She knew every way of dismembering and murdering a person that you could possibly know. She called herself Killer Girl, and yet Stretchman didn't listen to them. He opened his arms anyway, talking to Killer Girl, realizing that she was traumatized from childhood, rewarded only for killing and dismembering. He convinced her that he could be her friend, that she could be one of them. But unlike all the other heroes who genuinely believed in what Stretchman was saying, Killer Girl was different. Killer Girl always resented Stretchman, and she never truly believed that never killing was necessary. Over time, she talked to the other members of the team. She took them back to their old ways. Fuego remembered how thrilling it was to burn someone alive. Invisible Man remembered what it was like to be rich, full of money that he stole. And Horus was reminded of the godlike strength inside. Yet they had a problem. Killer Girl convinced them to turn against Stretchman, but when? How? Stretchman had beaten them all individually, and Stretchman's infinite stretching abilities made him really difficult to beat. If they were going to turn against him, they would have to go after him in the proper moment. At this point, the champions of honor were a well-oiled machine, walking up from the ocean up a leg of a giant robot. "Are you sure Paradox King is in here?" Stretchman said. "Yes," Killer Girl said. "He's been evading us for too long, but his signal is triangulated. He's in the head of this robot." As I walked up to the head of the robot, Stretchman looked at his friends. He was proud of all these former criminals now turned into heroes that never kill. There were people that thought the criminals could never change, but Stretchman truly believed in them. They made it to the head of the giant robot, killed long ago by another hero. "Where is he?" Stretchman said. "That's the thing," Killer Girl said. She stabbed Stretchman in the back. He whirled around, stretching out, "Team, attack Killer Girl!" But the team just chuckled, smiling. "You really don't get it, do you?" Fuego said. "Yeah, boss," Invisible Man said. Stretchman tried to stretch to get out of the giant robot's head, but before he could, Horus punched him in the back with all of the strength of an Egyptian god. Stretchman fell to the ground, struggling to get his body back together, but Fuego Master burned him. Invisible Man stabbed him in the face, cutting down his stretched skin, and Killer Girl poured acid all over his body. Acid was the one thing that could affect his elasticity, and Stretchman screamed. Horus chuckled, putting him into an ancient Egyptian box full of paradox. "This box is impossible to escape, and once I pour acid in it, well, it's been nice knowing you," Horus said. "Are you sure about this?" Killer Girl said. "We don't want him coming back." "Positive," Horus said. Killer Girl poured acid into the Egyptian box, and Stretchman felt the worst pain that he's felt in his entire life. The Egyptian box was infinite inside, full of fractals of different pyramids, and Stretchman could stretch out to any length and he would not be able to escape. The acid burned every aspect of his skin, and he was completely in agonizing pain, but he wasn't dead. In fact, the way time worked in the Egyptian box allowed Stretchman to push himself past his limits. He spent days, weeks, years inside the box until finally he learned every aspect of it, and he pulled himself out, using his stretched fingers to pull himself out into the dead robot's head. When he looked outside, he saw that only a few hours had passed, but he had lived for years. There was only one thing in Stretchman's mind: revenge. Stretchman's funeral was attended by hundreds of people. In the rain, it was like the entire city was crying, but the giant cathedral of the church held in everyone that wanted to pay their respects. At the front of the row, Stretchman's wife Marissa was sobbing in front of a giant portrait of him. Beside her were every single hero that had just betrayed Stretchman. "I don't understand how he died," Marissa said. "I know," Killer Girl said, holding her. "He was an inspiration to all of us. We'll be sure to keep the city safe." "And we know now," Horace said, "that his rule about not killing was antiquated, not allowed. We'll be sure that the champions of honor kill to reinforce justice from now on." Marissa burst out into tears, and Killer Girl held her as she cried. She and Horace exchanged a look and nodded. Suddenly, the lights in the funeral went out. They looked up at the torch sconces in the sky and saw a giant, stretched body going over it. "He's here," Fuego said. He tried to burn the stretched body, but it was too late. The stretched flesh went down and wrapped itself around Fuego's face. "No oxygen means no fire," Stretchman said, and Fuego suffocated. Everybody in the funeral screamed, running towards the doors, pounding on it. Killer Girl immediately changed, switching up and putting a knife to Marissa's neck. "I'll kill her if you get close," Killer Girl said. Invisible Man tried to pour acid onto the giant tarp of Stretchman, but it was too late. He grabbed him by the foot. He couldn't even turn invisible before his foot snapped, and Stretchman covered his face in his body, suffocating him. Horus used all of his Egyptian god power. He summoned a golden rage, grew 10 times the size, trying to rip at Stretchman from the sky, but suddenly he was forced into the same box that he put Stretchman in. Stretchman looked at Killer Girl in the eyes. They were alone now in the church. Stretchman chuckled, looking at the ancient Egyptian box. "Do you know how long it took me to get out of this?" he said, looking at Killer Girl. "Do you know how long it's been since I believed that you could be rehabilitated? That I shouldn't have killed you as soon as I met you?" Killer Girl chuckled nervously. "I've got your wife," she said. "Just let me leave and you can have her safe. You can..." Stretchman had stretched out his toe into a blade that went right through Killer Girl's neck. He pulled the toe back, and Killer Girl staggered, falling to the ground. Marissa ran to Stretchman, and he hugged her, watching, looking at the people who'd betrayed him's corpses all over the ground. "Why? How?" Marissa said. "You know, they were criminals, but they were right about one thing," Stretchman said, sighing. "Sometimes people just have to die."